Namaste everyone. Hey Kashap. Okay, so just waiting for a few more minutes and we'll then get to our next part. We're waiting for Samvit also to enter. I hope everyone's safe and healthy during this period. So okay, until Samvit joins. Okay, Samvit's here with us. Okay, I'm just going to add Samvit to the call. I don't know why it's taking so long. It should have connected by now. Okay, there we go. Hey.
Ooh, I can't hear. Okay, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Namaste, Samvit. Glad to have you on our fourth session for KalaBaithak.
Namaste. Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to quickly introduce a bit about the Creative Toli, and then we're going to move on to introducing Samvit, who's our guest today. So the Creative Toli is a one-stop PC community network where our aim is to connect the freelancers and the industry and vice versa. A place where they can connect, collaborate, and they can get together across cross communities to work on different ideas, on passion projects, or even work projects. So do give us a look up. Do sign up if you guys want to collaborate with more people. And today, our whole month is themed around purpose, creativity and purpose, and finding the purpose in the creativity that you do. And today we have Samvit with us. Samvit was born in Orwell, and he's has over 15 years of design experience. He studied at Massachusetts and has got his product design degree from there. He's collectively taught in Shanghai, uh, in India, and lots of all over. Samvit is also leading a studio called LightFish Design Studio, which primarily deals in furniture, lighting, and a lot of product design solutions, from 3D printing to modeling to lots of stuff. And the main uh, underlying theme at Lightfish is about having a sustainable vision and having a sustainable practice in every design process that we undertake. So Samvit is definitely going to talk to us more about how he's working with his brother issues in the forest and a lot more stories to follow. Till then, let Samvit start with a few words. Let him say hi to everybody and introduce himself. Okay, over to you, Samvit.
Okay, so you want to talk about how I've gotten here, right? My story.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
your story.
Yeah, I was born in Orville, and I immediately started working with my hands, working with wood, but I had really no idea of product design. I wanted to be an inventor when I was a kid, so that was like my direction. Later on, growing up, I figured out that there isn't really a position for an inventor in this world, and so I sort of drifted towards architecture because in Orville we have hundreds of architects. You know, like I think for every 20 people there is an architect in Orville. So, uh, so, but so that was in Boston, first semester in Boston, and in the same floor as architecture was product design, and I decided to sit into a senior class just to get a sense of what they were doing, and I was blown away by the work that they were doing. And I thought that that was an entire semester's work that they had put up on the wall, but that was just 2 weeks worth of work. And I was like, oh my God, how is it possible? How have you come up with so many ideas, so many versions, and we solved it in so many different ways, like 12 kids in the class, each with a unique idea. So that I got hooked on product design quite early on. Then finished with Boston. I interned in a few places, and then I worked in a few places. Total, I was in America for 10 years. I think the longest I was in one company was about 3.5 years. And I got to experience a lot of different design methods, philosophies, and but at some point I realized that, you know, you're asking about purpose, and I felt a lack of purpose when I was working in America. I felt like the products I was creating were just going to be thrown away in about a year or two, and that it was just going to sit in a landfill. So very early on in my career, I knew that with the background I had in Oroville, I couldn't just follow that path. It just was going against my natural instinct. And so I started looking for other opportunities elsewhere in the world. I was also thinking of going back to school. And then I got this sort of random opportunity to go teach in Shanghai. And I thought it was a joke at first. I thought, misunderstanding. I have no teaching experience. But anyway, I was like, I'm done with America. So let's go and try something else. So I went there, I started teaching, and I really enjoyed it. I felt that I was hesitating to go back to school, but I think I learned more as a teacher than I would have if I had gone back to school. It made me revisit all of the stuff that I already knew and master it and become really fluent in everything about it, not just surface knowledge. And then I negotiated after 2 years in Shanghai again. Like before I came to Oroville, I was traveling a lot. I traveled. I was every couple of years I was in a new city, a new place. After a couple of years in Shanghai, I wanted to come back to India, so I got them to transfer me to Bombay, Raffles in Bombay. And a nice little story is I took 3 months off, in one semester off, and bought an old motorbike and drove almost the entire way to India. So yeah, so that was fun. Then that's where I met you and a lot of the people I'm still in touch with. And after that, soon after that, I think it was again 2 years in Raffles or 1 year, 2 years.
I think 2 years.
2 years in Bombay. So yeah, 2 years in Shanghai and I think 2 years in Bombay. Then I started LightFish. I started it with my brother, with another friend of mine, Kashyap also, and with a couple of other friends. And we started really with nothing. We had like one computer and we started designing. But one of the things I learned to do early on is animations, product animations. So that's how we got off the ground. That's how we earned a little bit of money, is by working for other product design companies, doing presentations and animations for their products that weren't even on the market yet. So just like a teaser. And that worked well enough to keep the company going. And at some point I had the need to build a workshop to make things. What really excited me about product design is the full cycle. You have the idea, the inspiration, then you go and you sketch it out, and then you go and you make it, and then you show it, and you improve on it. So that last bit was really missing for me, just working in front of a computer. And I came back to Oroville and started slowly accumulating tools to be able to make things. And a lot of the times I didn't even know how to use the tool until I bought it. So I had to learn. Like I bought the CNC before I had just basic experience in it. And I went ahead and just like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to be able to create anything I want. I need to be able to create it, from the computer to the final product. So yeah, and it's been 10 years now since we're here in Oroville. We've, I think, grown, matured in our methods and design skills. And yeah, that's the answer, I guess.
So that's great. You know, when you mentioned you started LightFish and you came back, and Rishi also was there throughout this whole process. Tell us a bit more about how the whole LightFish studio works. I mean, from the sketch to the design to the build and all the materials.
Uh, we're having a little connection problem. Can you repeat that? Can you
Oh,
try that again?
sorry, yeah. No, I was saying, so since you spoke about starting work with Rishi and
Yeah.
how basically like it started about and the materials and getting together a design, the process, and then building out the product. Tell us a bit more about the process and about the whole sustainable timeline that we use.
Okay. I heard Rishi, I heard product and sustainable, so I'll
Okay.
make an answer with that.
Sorry.
Rishi is my younger brother. He's got a different father, so we don't look at all alike, but we're very close. And he's also got a very different approach to life. So he lives in the forest, and he's more or less self-sustained. I mean, of course, not 100%, but when I started the company, I needed someone to help me, and he just helped. He just came and said, "Okay, how can I help?" And now we've both gone in our separate ways, but we're still collaborating together. So he has a forest in Orville, and he supplies me with a lot of the trees that fall down or that need to be cut because they're leaning too much or there's a storm and they break. And I make a lot of the products with it. And then all of that sawdust that goes back into the forest, it gets turned into mulch. And so we have a cycle going where as long as I keep it to a small scale, we're able to really get a lot of our material. I wouldn't say for free because we do contribute to Rishi,
Correct.
but we get it and we don't we it's outside of the market kind of strategy. We're helping each other out, and I
Correct.
really
Correct.
like that. I find that those are the kinds of things that I try to develop here in Orville is okay, you need this and I have this and I need this and you have this, and how can we work together and
Yeah.
create something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. In fact, you know, that's exactly how we can all find different perspectives from people. There's always learning that passes off and bumps off each other. So it's always good to even have that exchange of not only knowledge, but also some sort of skill where you can help out somebody who needs a particular, you know, creative work or project done. And the same can be reciprocated by them in some other skill that we may be falling short of. So I think that definitely works, and especially I think Orwell has been, you know, quite inspirational in the aspect for even us when he was studying about model, about the people, and how the community contributes and works over there. So we you know we really understand. I mean, sorry, for me at least, it's easy to understand how this whole community sort of builds up and works. The idea is to you know come together and sort of push this ahead.
Mm.
Uh, Speaking of collaborations, you know, there's one very important thing that I recently saw on your profile, which was you guys working on the Tusky series, the Tusky
Yeah.
Ventilator, which
Yeah.
I found
Here I have the
prototype. Oh,
main
nice.
components here that I want to just share with you guys.
Oh,
Let me
oh,
get a
amazing,
sense of what
amazing.
it looks like.
Yeah, so this, in fact, you can elaborate a bit more on this, something what exactly, how does this strike, how does it strike you? Because usually, you know, it's always said that we're trying to solve an existing problem, but in this case, we
An
actually had to
inconvenience. We're solving an inconvenience. 90% of the time, it's not life or death. Like very, very rarely do we go in that area where what we do could determine the well-being of someone. So yeah, like you said,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
So, how did this whole journey start? When did you when it is strike you, I can, like, when was your eureka moment?
Well, I have a close friend, Lance, who's in China, and so he was sort of like giving me a little bit of information as, the spread was happening over there, and sort of telling me to be a little bit more conscious and aware. And so very early on, like I was starting to test to like 3D print some masks in case I needed them. Now we have plenty of masks. There's no need for that. Face shields we were designing, and then this idea of creating a ventilator came up. And right at the beginning of the lockdown, there was really very little available to us. So it was just the material I had in the workshop, plus whatever old things I had collected. So like I tore apart a printer so I could get some motors out of it. I tore apart old projects. And thankfully, I had just been working on a water purifier. So
Okay.
I had a lot of spare parts concerning water. Yeah. And so I thought like, okay, it's doable. I don't know if it's possible. I can probably do it. So we started just sourcing basic components, and I really got a nice sense from the community that people just came together to support. Like as soon as we had put our first video up online of the work that we were doing, immediately people were like, how can we help? Can we send you material? Can we send you components, motors, whatever? And then that encouraged me to say, okay, I can take it one step further. So at the beginning, it was just a very basic model from like an open source design, which I modified for the need that I had right now.
Okay.
And it was just a very dumb machine, had nothing special to it, just something that moved up and down. But there were quite a few different little breakthroughs that gave me hope. So like one small anecdote is how to measure your breathing rate, right? You need to set that. You need to be able to like tune it. And there were two teams in Oroville who started working on ventilators. So they went into the hardcore coding, chips, sensors, all of this stuff. I felt like not gonna happen. Not gonna happen in the short term. How can I make it really basic and simple? And I took a lot of the components from the water purifier, and I sort of created from a mix of different things I had seen online, a ventilator that really used very, very basic components. And yeah, so I was sort of surprised that, yeah, okay, now it works. What's the next step? We invited doctors to come and check it out. And we got their support. We also got a lot of equipment from them. So like the ambu bags, the pipes. And so it's nice. I feel it's really nice to work on these kinds of projects. You talked about purpose early on. And when you're doing something like this, you don't always have this voice in the back of your mind, am I making money on it? Oftentimes when I'm working on a project, I'm like, okay, this is the budget, this is how much time I can dedicate to it, and beyond this, it's just costing me. This is just like I want to give. Whatever I've learned, I want to be able to share it, and most importantly, I want to be able to support the people around me, Oroville, and my family, my friends, in case they need something to survive, and I can help. Then I want to be there to do it. So. Yeah, I think these kinds of crisis situations give us time to introspect and realize what it is that we really want to do. And in a situation of crisis like that, making money takes less of a priority, and just getting together to solve a problem becomes much more important. And
Yeah,
I'm very happy for the friends and the connections that I've built during this time. So it's going to stay with me.
yeah, definitely. In fact, I think there were also engineers you met along the way, and you worked with different people, even outside the Orwell community. So it was good, I guess, even to interact with those people who were as motivated and with the same vision as you, because this is something that all of us are facing all over. And
Yeah.
if a small device can be made to temporarily help you get through the emergency phase, and it is so easily replicable. It's affordable. It basically is, adaptive to the materials available in the market for you, which
Yeah.
makes it a big plus that it becomes
Yeah.
as the purpose it solves for the users or even for emergency situation.
I'm
Uh,
gonna geek out for a moment, and I'm gonna tell you like how far back I've gone into thinking about being able to
sure,
share
sure,
this.
sure.
So, what one of the things I always tell my students and that learn a parametric software. Learn a
Okay.
software where you enter parameters and the design sort of manifests itself. If you enter enough parameters, it's evident what it needs to look like, right? So that's how we've gone about designing this ventilator. And the idea is that someone else can take it up and improve on it very easily, not having to build from the ground up. But he can enter, okay, no, I don't have a 5 mm acrylic, I only have 8 mm acrylic. I enter that, the whole design adapts and modifies. So I did it really with the intent of being able to share it online and have it be taken to the next step because um, working with someone else's files sometimes is a bit difficult. And so I don't want the person to go through the same problems that I went to. I want to be able to make it even
You
easier.
basically, yeah, you envisioned for an open source community basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing,
And
amazing.
I like this. There's also something else that came up, which I had heard of, but I had never worked with, is sort of this idea of gift economy. I just offer as much as I can, and you give me as much as you think is fit. And I've started to work a little bit on small projects like that with people, and I find it really nice because it's not about like how much can I get out of this client. It's like how can I help this client fix a problem, and the money will come. You know, it's if they don't have the money, then the money will come from somewhere else. But how can I help fix a problem? Yeah.
Correct. That's actually a great thinking that we require to alter ourselves today, because the more receptive we are to sort of accepting that somebody has come to you out of an inconvenience that's born to them, and whether it benefits them in whatever it may, it doesn't always have to be about you benefiting monetarily so big that you can just pull up your collars and nothing else.
Yeah.
It's not just about the show off and the buzz around the whole money making idea. But as you said, you have to think of the purpose behind with which you are going to, go ahead with this. So, while developing the Tusky, when you're working on it, were there always some sort of, moments where made you realize that how it could become a better design if we had this particular material? Because, as you said, you were limited with a lot of materials that were available to you. But did you ever have that feeling while working on it? Were you already reimagining new designs?
No, it's nice to have uh, it's nice to have sort of boundaries onto what you can and can't do. It helps develop a design. If you know that, okay, I can't get anything from China, okay, out of the picture. I don't want to waste time. I can't do it. Okay, I need to work locally. What can I tear apart to get the components I want? I like that because it brings a lot of focus into your work. Okay, this is what I have, and somehow I have to make it work. Thankfully, we have a lot. Like this lockdown came just as like one of the last machines I had ordered came in, and so we have a full prototype workshop here with CNCs, laser cutters, and lathes and metal cutters, and so I didn't feel very limited in being able to create things. It just was like, how much effort do I want to go into to actually manifest this thing? Okay, so. Um, it's I feel I've been preparing for this moment in some way. I'm surprised sometimes that it hasn't happened sooner, in maybe a different form, but like the idea of society collapsing has been with me for at least 10 years now, sort of like, okay, this is a possibility, and
Yeah,
it's like, okay, how can we plan for it? So um, being able to make things myself was something that was really important, and understanding what it takes to make something. There's a group that sort of first got me onto this idea. I think they were called Civilization Restarter, where they gathered all the basic information you needed to restart a civilization. Okay, how do you build a windmill? How do you build this? How do you build that? How do you build a tractor? And they put it all on like one DVD. So in case like everything blows up, at least if someone finds it and they have access to it. I feel like that's what I did at LightFish. I need to have tools to be able to do everything I need, you know? Like the world collapsed, I can still do what I love doing here at LightFish, you know? So, yeah. I didn't really stop working much during the lockdown. I think I took a couple weeks off maximum, and then I started coming back into the office and tinkering with things and working.
Yeah, I think it's sort of, it was like you creating your own design manual, and which was literally not just a reading manual, but a practical manual with the product ready in hand. So I guess this lockdown did, I mean, you know, especially teach a lot of us a lot of different things. For you, it's actually been quite the ride. Working most of the days, finding a purposeful product, envisioning the idea, and then directly putting it out for a manufacturing scale, using materials available. I mean, you faced all these challenges, and yet, you know, the idea which was to get the prototype in place and then pass it on to an open source community thinking and accordingly take the next step ahead. I think that itself shows a lot about how the thinking that has evolved within us over the years. It should bend more towards things that matter. And today, all of us are going to be questioning our needs versus our wants. And exactly what you know, you literally showed us that there was a need, and you said, you know what, I want this, and you actually fulfilled both of them together. So I think that's really hats off to you and the team who worked on the idea. So okay, enough about Tusky. Now let's discuss a few of your lovely lamps and designs. I've seen quite a few of them. I've seen the Geek series, the pendant. I've seen the tree light. I've seen the conscious light, which was with aluminum and wood. Tell us what runs through your process while playing with these materials. Do you have a particular list of materials that you absolutely love working on, or is it also born out of the requirement from the forest as well?
It's basically what is available from the forest. There you have trees of a certain size that have about they can live to about 30 years, I think, but usually after 10 years they reach their maturity, and that's usually when something happens, they fall. So you have about 150 mm of diameter, and that's what you'll get. You're not going to get perfect planks or anything like this. You have trunks, a lot of variations in it. I wanted to develop products where I could take the material from the forest and use it directly. So oftentimes we have to go to a sawmill when we have to make bigger projects to create planks and glue them together. But for our in-house projects, we like to do everything in-house. We don't like to send anything out. So we get the wood from the forest, we turn it on the lathe, we get the raw aluminum rods, we do all of the turning on the lathe. We have someone we work with just next door to do all of the electronics. And it doesn't always end up being cheaper, for sure, if you try to do everything on your own. If you send it out and make 1,000, you can make it for a lot less than if you try to make one at a time. But I like making it. So it's not that I'm trying to make the cheapest possible product. I enjoy making this product. I enjoy making it every time and improving on it every time. So that's kind of my process, is each time that we make it, each time we do another batch, we sort of revisit it and we try to improve it and tweak it. And it's an ongoing thing.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's the conscious light is like right up there. I can demo that if you want. It's sort of a nice synergy of all the different things that we've learned
Yeah,
in
sure.
lighting.
We would love to see that.
What's that?
I'm saying sure. We'd love to see it closer.
Yeah, I'll show you. So I have one here. So, where should I start? Okay, so first you see the size of the lamp is like what you would normally your wood is maybe a little bit bigger like that. So you're not really taking a big piece of wood. This is more or less the maximum size that we can go without having to get wood from another forest. So the light is firstly dimmable, which is now quite common and everyone has it. But one aspect which most people don't have is that it's tunable. So I don't know if you can see it, but it goes from a yellow
to a white,
to a blue light.
Yeah.
It's not showing on the camera. Yeah, okay.
It is showing in the reflection of the wood.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a nice little USB charger on the back.
Oh wow. Okay.
When you have this on your bedside, on your nightstand or something like that, it's one less cable, one less charger to worry about. Here on this side, there's quite a lot of heat that's generated in here. So you have a 6 watt of LED, which will create almost 6 watts of heat. Actually, about 5 watts of heat is just being generated. And earlier models were cracking. So what we've done is we've done sort of a lamination process, which I think adds a lot of character to the product as well, because each section has the grain going in opposite directions. So it looks like a different color, but it's just a different direction of the grain. And it makes the light a lot stronger. All of this stuff. And then all the components are made in-house, like all of the aluminum is milled here. All of the electronics is done in-house. So it's fun. I like it. I sit back and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that was worth making. That was something that was fun. And it's, for me, beauty is really subjective. So to talk about, oh, it's so beautiful, I don't like doing that. But to me, when it's simple and it's as simple as it can be, that's in a sense revealing the true beauty. And the true beauty in most of the products is in the materials that I use.
Yeah, yeah.
So just revealing the natural material and being as honest as possible about the materials you use. Like I cringe when I see plastic trying to look like metal. For me, that's like, no. Plastic should look like plastic, and it has a particular place in your in the products that you need to make. But don't try to make it look like some flashy thing that it's not. Just be honest with the materials that you're using, and I think naturally the products will turn out to look more honest and desirable. That's my...
Definitely, I see a lot of this sink as, you know, the clean design thinking. There's not much of cluster around. There's a very nice balance to the texture and the material complementing each other. And it is just, the sink is, the synergy in the product can be very visually appealing in that sense. So as you said, the idea of keeping it simple and keeping it to the point, doing justice to the material, I think it definitely shows from most of the stuff. I think even the branch floor lamp, I remember it's such a thin, straight up line, and it's so sleek, and it just defines the purpose. Your work is done right there. You don't need to add any more additional wires to it or any additional technicality to it. It's there, it's ready, and it's to work on. I really love even the branch floor lamp. It's one of my favorites, actually.
I love these kinds of projects, because when you look at it first, you're like, you know, okay, maybe. And then you do one thing at a time. Okay, how do I work on the joint? Okay, so like you're talking about like the branch light. This is like one of the sections of the branch light. Now this is basically how it works. right? You have wood mixed with metal, mixed with brass, and it all has to be really thin and have cables passing through it. And figuring this stuff out is really like what I find exciting. Maybe it's not as critical as designing a ventilator. Like I rarely get these kinds of projects. But being able to do something that hasn't been done before, and to give like your 2 cents into this direction or this field, or to say, okay, I'm going to push this a little bit further. I'm going to try something that hasn't been done before, and then actually achieving it is really fun. That's what I live to do, really.
Definitely. And I can see a lot of my passion still even there, because I remember often coming to visit there to learn some stuff from you, to even just spend a few days learning about the community at Auroville, meeting people there. I met Fabio, amazing photographer. Good time. We had Budget who was there, and just even the small experiences that build up my time while learning about how the design studio is, the people working there, how they think, what sort of philosophy is running around. So it definitely helped me get a better glimpse into what LightFish is. Uh, let's talk a bit more about the toys that you sort of made. The really nice, cute or turtles, or giraffes. What was the thinking behind that? Was there a project-based idea, or was it born out of a childhood dream?
Well, I have prototypes here. So these are all work in progress. Not all of them. So when I grew up in Oroville, we made our own toys mostly. I remember we would. I don't want to go into it. It's a bit embarrassing, but we would just pick up things together and make like basic toys and run around with them, And I felt like the toys that you bought, like I used to get these Lego sets which were just like a bunch of parts, and you would make whatever you want. And then you had the new Lego sets which you could only do one thing with it, and it was really limited. And I felt like more and more of the toys only had like one trick they could do, like a one button, and then it makes noise or something, and it's plastic, and it's not something you want to hold on to. You're almost irritated when the child is playing with it, because it's just annoying, for adults. I wanted to create a toy that a child would hold on to and then pass down to his child. And I remember when I was in Germany, so my father's German, and his parents stayed in Germany. He moved to India, but we would go back and visit quite often. And he had a set of wooden toys that his father gave him and that I had. So it's 3 generations, right? And okay, the paint had come off, and probably a lot of the pieces were broken and lost, but we still used it, and I loved it. I loved the way that wood sort of aged as opposed to plastic, which is a very short life, but wood seems to gain value the older it gets if you treat it well. So I wanted to create toys with wood. One important aspect in it was that there would be an element of education in them. So, for instance, the porcupine, which I don't have the spikes, but this is the body of it. So there are pins that go in here. You start by seeing that the dovetail joints in the toy. So automatically the kid starts learning about like, a little bit of joinery. And then each of these fins, a bit like the maps I recently posted, each of these fins are made out of a different wood. So a different color, a different wood. So automatically the kid starts to realize how many different types of woods there exist, and how they taste, because they're going to put it in their mouth, and if they're strong or break, and automatically they're going to find that as like they're just going to know how to use this material more. They'll be more comfortable with it. And as opposed to plastic, which is sort of this it has no character, right? Plastic has no life to it. So using wood was an important thing, having some element of education, learning involved in it. A lot of them are like puzzles, so you take them apart, how do you put them back together? The considerations we basically had were like, you can't swallow, you shouldn't be able to swallow the parts. There should be no toxic chemicals on any of the parts. That's another thing about all of our products, is that we all use natural finishes. So we have like oil and wax. So even for the lamps that we do, you can put it in your mouth. It's not a problem. Of course, for all of the toys, whenever we used color, we had to use stains that were, again, natural. So yeah, there was a lot of work and effort that went into that small collection.
Nice. Besides these projects that you just spoke about, is there any one particular one that was your favorite over the years? And at the same time, have you ever found a lot more inspiration working with collaborators on such projects, or something where you always started off first and then got somebody on board to work with? So maybe both those parts.
So let me answer the second part first, the collaboration part, because that's very clear for me. Finding a client that helps you and supports you is really key to doing something that's good. So a lot of these stories I talk about are working for clients which are like, I have this idea, but it's very vague, and they trust that you're going to take it to a good place, and they support you, and they encourage you. So that's really very exciting. I think the favorite collaboration I had working on a project was for this conscious light, because the person who collaborated with me on it is an engineer. So I was able to sort of understand what he could do, and he was able to understand what I could do, and we worked together to create something. There wasn't like, you're working for me and I'm subservient to whatever you ask me to do. And that's when you can really create like good stuff, when you bring people's strengths together, and that happens. Another project which I can talk briefly about, where I thought the process was quite interesting, is if I can take this out. Oh, it's glued in place. Okay, so I was asked to design a perfume bottle, okay, a high-end perfume bottle, and we made them in different materials, different finishes. But I like this story because of the design process. I like to make things, and in making them, I realize what the next step is. So when I started, I just worked on the cap of the bottle, and that was it. That was like the job I was given. I worked on the cap, I finished it, it looked okay, the client was happy, and I was like, well, it's missing. It's like you have just like a plop of wood on top of a glass jar. Let me try and do something else. So I made like what I call a jacket, which sort of like embodies the product and sort of brings a connection between the top and the bottom. And this is the fun part. It's like, okay, that's nice. But now and I made it out of one block of wood. So all of these products are made with, what is it called? Not recycled, but reclaimed wood. Yeah, so they come from old houses, beams, whatever. It's like almost like scrap wood. But the really nice thing about reclaimed wood is it's very stable. It's not going to move anymore. The bad thing is that you have all sorts of holes and things inside. So making small products with reclaimed wood is a really good way to do it, because you can sort of avoid all of the bad parts and the holes and still get a very well finished piece of wood. So I made this, and what was left was a profile around this entire part. And I said, oh wow, that could actually be the packaging for it. So this cutout is where this part came out of, And so then we built the next part, which then holds the bottle, and you can actually see where the tool comes and cuts all around. You know, you have a 4 millimeter gap all around, and then you just have a cover on top. And the beauty of it is that the grains throughout the product follow, you know, and for someone who loves wood, when you see that amount of detail, you're like, oh wow, it's the same piece of wood throughout the product. That's fun. That's like the extra icing on the cake for me, you know, that you can do that.
That's
So
smart design. Actually, smart design.
what's that?
I'm saying that's actually a user smart design. Like using the
Yeah.
mold itself to create that sort of enclosure. So you get a nice texture with not only the wood, but even the play of glass and the wood that's there. It looks beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that answers I forgot the question, but
Okay, so that's great. So we got to know a lot through your work about the creativity in purpose, how you're finding purpose every day, even today in your creative work at Lightfish and daily things that you're doing. Besides this, we as you know, before you move on to the filter part of the session, there's one thing I always wanted to know. When I'm sure all of us have met somebody that's influenced our thinking or inspired us to look, at our thought process in a certain manner. Has there been such a role model? And what sort of advice would you have for people also building into a product design career or a design field that requires some sort of purpose in their work?
so I think the most important thing is to have some support. I said the nicest clients to work with are the ones that encourage you, not the ones that try to squeeze you. So I would say that it's important that you have friends you can go to, family that you can go to. You don't want to do this alone. Like you can get into some really dark places when you're doing design alone, and you want to be surrounded by people that are supportive. Eh, at least that's my experience. There are moments where you just want to go alone and go into your zone and do your design, and then when you come out of it, you need to be surrounded by people that like love what you do, encourage you, support you, all of that stuff. Otherwise, what are you doing it for? At least coming to Orville, I realized that the main goal here was not to make money. This is not the place you come to make money. So I had to find something else that was rewarding. Um, and for me, I think trying to help people is something that also is really a nice energy that you create, which then motivates you to go even further and do something that's even a little bit more daring. Or so having good people around you to support you and doing something that you love, finding that energy inside you, that excitement for what you do. That's what's important. And if there's something where you feel like you can't go to sleep at night until you figure it out, that's when you know you're on the right path. Where when you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think of is, okay, I need to go and I need to do this. I need to make this. Then you know, like that's the energy that you want to be in to really flow and be successful in design.
Correct.
My professor used to tell me. My professor used to tell me that as a designer, you need to have an idea a minute. So that's the pace. You remember I had said earlier at the beginning, those kids had done in 2 weeks what I thought was a whole semester's worth of work. That's really, I think, the top designers, that's how they operate. They have an idea a minute. So if you have, you sit down with them for 1 hour in a conference room and you work with them, you have at the end of it 60 ideas that you can go with, And that's really important, is to get into that cycle of having an idea, then having another idea, improving on it, and constantly pushing it forward.
Yeah. Basically questioning yourself every minute about something that can get better, and yet smiling about it while going back to the drawing board. Because, as you said, if you might just keep questioning, but you might get stuck in the loop if you don't have those people around you the motivation
Yeah.
around you, and the reason to find the next best answer. So okay, Samvit, we'll move on to the filter section. You took the filter that we had created, the TKT collaborator filter,
Yeah.
and your result was an artist. So tell us a bit more. How would you be working along with an artist at your studio or on some projects or passion projects?
Artists are very hard people to work with, but I love it. It's always a really big challenge. I had an artist. My office was a little bit different at the time. I had an artist, German, and she would sit behind my shoulder. She didn't know how to use the computer or anything like this, and with a broom, sort of a long stick, and pointing at the screen and going 1 millimeter to the right. It was hilarious. It was just like I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this is driving me nuts. So artists are like very particular in things that sometimes for other people you're like it looks the same. It's the same thing, you know. I was working on a sculpture which was 6 meters tall, right?
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter was the increments we were moving things on something that was 6 meters tall. We're never going to complete this. So eventually we did. It took longer than expected. So it's special because sometimes the decisions are non-rational, right? A lot of design is really based on rational thinking, problem solution, okay? Elegance is something that comes on top of it. But when you work with artists, there is no problem. It's just about expression. So you have to be patient to allow that to come out.
Nice, nice.
I hope
Okay,
she's
that's
not listening.
Do you have some particular artworks or some canvases at home that you like putting up?
Um, I have, my mother's an artist, so I have some of her work. She does a lot of painting.
Oh, wow.
And but no, I have sort of very minimalist house. I don't have a lot going on. I like it that way. I don't have a lot of clutter.
Right. Keep it simple, like the
Yeah.
design and like.
Yeah. Less is more.
Nice. Less is more. Less is more. Absolutely. Okay, great. So I think what we'll do is we'll wait for a couple of minutes for people to ask some questions if they have some interesting queries and if they want to know more about LightFish or a bit more about you. Till then, what we could do is you mentioned one small inspiration that your professor gave you in your growing years and studying design. Were there other people outside your learning phase that sort of helped you inspire to constantly, as you said, you had people as a support group. Was there somebody that helped you inspire in that particular way and made you work stronger towards LightFish and take it ahead?
Yeah, I can think of two people that have had a positive influence on me right now. So one is a client, his name is Manik, and what I felt is that sometimes I thought his ideas were crazy. I really was feeling like you cannot do this. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? And then sometimes his ideas I felt genius, where he was like right on the money. He knew it. He got it. He understood the problem and he was able to find a nice solution. So with Manik, I think what was really a key or a part that was important to me was that he was very childlike in his thinking of design. He was not a product designer, and so anything was possible to him, you know. So he came to me, maybe it was 2 years back or something. He said, Samvit, you're going to design 4 products for me right now simultaneously. You're going to design a coffee maker. You're going to design a water purifier. You're going to be designing like the air purifier is behind here. I don't know if that's a scale model of it. The coffee machine is like up there somewhere. And then he's like, yeah, and you're going to design sunglasses. So when you meet someone like that at first, you're like, you can't do it all, no? But somehow, because he had this energy and this zest and this excitement to doing it, I said, okay, we'll try, we'll do it. And it gave me, it gave me the freedom to say, okay, I want to explore in that direction. I'm not an expert, but let's try. And oftentimes, when you take the first step, you find that you have the solution for the next step already, and then the third, and then eventually you hit a roadblock. It becomes difficult, but you can keep going. You can keep finding solutions. So even something that at first seems like it has so many components and it's difficult to understand how everything works together, you start slowly, and then eventually you get to a point where actually you've figured out the whole thing. So Manik is that person for me. He makes me he gives me the courage to do something that otherwise I would say no. One person can't do this. You have companies with like hundreds of engineers and designers working night and day trying to figure these things out. How can we do something that's going to compete with that? No, like those are the things that keep going on in my head. And he ignores that. He just pushes through and he says, no, we have to do it.
He's
You know?
he's like Barney Stinson. He's like challenge accepted.
Yeah, yeah. And the other, if we have a moment, I also want to say that someone who has inspired me to also take a stand for what I believe in is Bram. He's I don't know if probably people who are listening know of him. He's a good designer from Mysore, and his story is that he's a compagnon. So compagnon are like tradesmen, and they trade. They work and they learn at the same time. So they start at a very young age, and they're completely immersed in what it is that they're learning. So for him, it was carpentry. You live with the people that you work. You grow up. You live with people that are in similar fields. So you know what you're doing in real depth. That's it. That's your universe. That's all you know. And what he's doing is sharing that knowledge and trying to bring a community together around design. And that's something that is nice, because oftentimes as soon as people get a leg up, they get one step up, they're not looking at the people behind them. They're looking at how they can even take the next step. So I've seen that Bram has been very patient and very willing to share information, and that's a real treasure. That's really special, and I respect and admire that a lot in him.
Amazing.
It inspires me to do the same too. It makes me want to do it. You know, leading.
Yeah,
so he's leading by example, and I like that.
Yeah, that's in fact great actually that you have people around you who can inspire you. You meet them on a mostly pretty much a daily basis. Maybe not now because of work and the times you're in. But yeah, so Samvit, I think we've not got too many questions. I'll quickly conclude towards our session now. So guys, Samvit Blass of LightFish Studio, please check out the amazing work. And trust me, when I was describing those designs, I actually meant it. The minute you all go and see the catalogs or the work that they're doing, it's unbelievable. And the best part is it's all a part of a sustainable, recyclable design process where from scratch to finish, everything can be reused, reworked, and again goes back into the system. So, great processes out there, lovely design philosophy, and yeah, Samvit's been an amazing learner, an inspiration to many, I'm sure. There we have somebody writing, Tusha has written, you've been an inspiration to a lot of us here and the amazing work at Lightfish, and thank you for pushing us to learn new things every day. So there we
Thank
have
you,
one
Peter.
from Samvit. All right, Samvit, thank you. Namaste for our third session. We hope to do some work in the future with TKT. And yeah, we have Mansi Soni coming on for our fourth session, so stay tuned. Thank you, Samvit.